Hi, everybody. This is 986 days. I don't want to get to 1,000. 986 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. From the barracks, barracks are supposed to be secured, and there's standard operating procedures, SOPs, for the barracks. Um, Fort Bliss is a very, very important installation, military installation, vital for our national security. It's right there on the border of Mexico in El Paso, Texas. El Paso, Texas is the Siamese sister city of Juarez, Mexico. And so Fort Bliss is supposed to be very well trained, very secure. They should follow their SOPs. There's cameras everywhere. Those cameras should be working properly, should be also the history of them, what they capture, should be accessed because you're talking about our national security here right on the border. And you're talking about many of our volunteer sons and daughters that are now service members that are stationed there with their families. And so none of our service members ever should fear for their life on a military base by their own. Okay, by their own, by the hand of someone on the base. They're We have given them everything as far as the Department of Defense. We have given them $1 trillion plus budget. We have given them all of our support because, people say to me, oh, it hasn't been a trillion. Do you know how much money, even from my husband's pay and from my pay, um, that we have given back to the military in support of the military for all kinds of different reasons? Care packages would be number one, not number one on the list, but would be an example on the list. We have just supported the military our whole life, especially the Army, Go Army. My whole life I've been Army. And so, many people will send care packages and support, and then you can talk about how companies have gone over and above to support our troops, our service members, our family members, even our veterans. And there is multitude of volunteer agencies, volunteer support groups for our military. And so, this, we have given them everything. We have given them our volunteer sons and daughters. We've given them our support. We've given them our funding over and above, and we've volunteered hours, countless hours for the military. And so they should be run smoothly. They should be run exactly. Those SOPs should be followed. There should be esprit de corps. There should be training where it comes to leave no soldier behind, an army of one. Everything that they talk about in their ethics and their leadership, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage, all of these things, their creeds, those should be drilled into every one of our service members so that we are one family working together for the defense of the country. That's how I think it should be done. And yet, that is not what is being done. We have 44 four-star generals. You heard me right. Even when we had 13 plus million service members, we only, during World War II, we only had 7 four-star billets. Now we have 44 four-star billets, and we are not following SOP. Our installations are not safe. We know that because of Austin Hawk. We know that because of Vanessa Guillen. We know of all the things going on at Fort Bragg. It was like number one. We know that they are not following SOPs for the barracks because of what happened to Caleb Smither. We know that um, there's been dereliction and negligence uh, everywhere right now in our military. And we're talking about a very well funded, well supported Department of Defense. And they have betrayed us. They have let us down. They have turned their attention into making our Department of Defense a business plan for them. Like let's turn the barracks into a marketplace for illegal substances, illegal drugs. Let's turn our military healthcare system into a mental health care facility or business plan. Let's turn our wars into a military contract business plan. Let's turn, you know, uh, I made my point. I made my point. And, it sounds like I'm bashing the military. But look, I'm a mother of four. I'm a grandmother, Gigi, they call me Gigi, of eight. Okay? And if I think that they're acting up to and what they're doing is going to hurt their siblings, is going to hurt their cousins, is going to hurt friends around, the neighbors around, hurt our family, then I'm going to speak out, right? I'm going to speak out because I love them, because I support them. So, what our military is doing right now is hurting our national security. It's killing, actually killing, putting in danger, putting in harm's way unnecessarily, and killing many of our service members. It's a mess. And it's not because I don't like them or I don't support them. You can never say that. It's because they are messed up and they are hurting our national security. And when our national security is hurting, then it pollutes the world environment. Because we have, at this point, we're in danger of losing it, but we have the world currency. And so with that kind of privilege, and it is a privilege, a huge privilege, there comes a lot of responsibility. And that responsibility lays right at the door of the Department of Defense, at the Department of Justice, with our intelligence community. And right now they are serving foreign and domestic enemies instead of doing their duty, following their SOPs, and defending the Constitution of the United States. And it's hurting many, 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 many. And so that's why I'm calling it out. And today's, I just was on the phone to a friend. I'll even tell you, okay, no, I won't. But I was on the phone with a friend, and she told me that she was sending 20 letters out a day. That's her goal until the 1000th day. So we have a campaign right now, 1,000 letters for 1,000 days to Mr. Horowitz, the Inspector General right there in Washington, D.C., to ask him to inspect the investigation of Richard's case. And she said she's sending 20 out a day, that she went and bought all kinds of patriotic stickers. She's going to send, I think she said 5 or 10 out express, FedEx, that she was going to send out FedEx. But she bought these patriotic stickers, she bought patriotic stamps, and then she writes with her fine tip Sharpie pen on all of them, "Open me, Open this envelope. Open this envelope. Read this envelope. She writes all over it. And she puts all these patriotic stickers all over the envelope. And so because she wants us to have justice in finding Richard. And her prayers are being answered. And soon, maybe the IG will have no other choice but to inspect Richard's investigation, because we had some very, very good breaking news today. And so I wanted to talk to you about Judge Rodriguez. So, Judge Rodriguez has done something really uh, extraordinary here, and let me show you who he is. Um, he is the United States District Court for the Western District of Texas, U.S. District Judge Javier. You can say Javier in Spanish. My really good friend has her son's name is Javier. That's well, I know this is how, but we might say Xavier. But I know you pronounce it Javier Rodriguez, and you can find him in San Antonio. He did something very interesting today that I think I know we're going to act on. We're going to act on this for a very, very good reason. So let me read you a little bit about this. He reigned, is that what you call, served over the Sutherland Springs mass shooting. I remember when this happened. I had to be reminded of it today, the name of it, but I remember this church shooting in Texas. And I was there for the Luby's shooting when the truck drove in. That was in the 1980s. I believe it was early 1990s. The Luby's, that was in Killeen, Texas. I remember that. So I always try to keep up with these mass shootings, just for prayer purposes for these poor families, also for our communities, and for our judges, because this is all about judges and prosecutors at the AUSA, the Attorneys USA. I'm learning all this. I'm learning all of this because in our case, with Richard's case, we have it all. We have it all. We just need the AUSA. That's right there in the Western District of Texas to help us. We need Jaime Esparza to help us. We need Bill Hicks. He's on the state level. The DA, Bill Hicks, to help us. We need them to reach out to us. And we need, of course, and I think I have it here. Do I have them all listed here? Oh, no, that was our... Okay, here is the Inspector General Michael Horowitz that we're asking you to write to. And we put up a form letter if you wanted like an idea real quick. Now, my friend was saying she puts a picture in there and some other, stickers, and she wants Inspector General Michael Horowitz to pay attention to her letter. And so she gave me some really good ideas that we'll be busy with putting through definitely in our next letter. So I said, you must be in marketing. She is. I guess it's on this other one. But let's read through this case. So Department of Justice. So we're talking about Merrick Garland. So Merrick Garland is in charge of the Department of Justice in these United States right now. And he reaches a settlement with the families of Sutherland Springs mass shooting. This is April 5th. So just a few hours ago, the Department of Justice announced Wednesday that it reached a tentative settlement of $144.5 million with the families of the victims of the mass shooting that took place in Sutherland Springs, Texas in 2017. Now, how is this going to help find Richard Halliday? Well, let's read on. Let's read on because you'll see it. You'll see it. The shooting took place in a church and killed 25 people, including a pregnant woman. Officials put the death toll at 26. Kind of reminds me of the Walmart shooting that we just had in El Paso. That, well, not just had. They're so slow in hearing that case and settling that case. I don't know why. I have my ideas, but anyway, it remains the deadliest mass shooting in the state's history. Okay, so more than the Walmart shooting. The families of those who died sued the federal government because the shooter, who was in the Air Force, had a history of domestic violence that should have been flagged in the background system to prevent him from buying a weapon. But the Air Force never entered the information into the database. They are so sloppy, y'all. It's just sloppy. And I'm telling you, we were never told. We weren't contacted. Our family was not contacted. And it should have been urgent for that unit to contact us, because I'm telling you, I received, after my husband called to ask where is our son, we received a screenshot of Richard's first sergeant telling people that, oh, don't worry about this. It's not like Vanessa Guillen. This is not like this. Why was he saying that? How did he know? Did he know where Richard was? So we contacted him. But this was a screenshot on social media. He wrote paragraphs. And yet he didn't bother to go on his, and he was retired at the time, to go on his social media and tell it to Richard's family. And yet he was trying to warn the public already when there was no investigation at all into the whereabouts of Richard, that this was not like Vanessa Guillen. He assured us. But this was to social media. This was to an NCO group. The families of those who died sued the federal government because the shooter was Air Force and had a history of domestic violence. Well, you can say any violence, right? And I think a lot of Gold Star families are going to want to hear about this case. Okay? Missing and Gold Star families. So, families of missing and murdered service members will want to hear about this. Because the dereliction of duty, the negligence, I wrote down a few things here. The Air Force here learned that they're not immune, that they absolutely need to be held accountable. And we do. And this is not something mean, because you know, and I know, that if you're going to get in trouble if you don't do things right, then you're going to do things right more often. You're not going to be so lazy as to forget or just not enter in the background information of domestic violence of a soldier into the information database. Right? You're not going to forget that if you know that you're going to be held accountable if anything happens. And so, we have 44 four-star billets right now. This should be so known. But no, we have a 3-star general, 3-star Lieutenant General Bernabe and his SJA telling us that a soldier can be totally destroyed because of a 0.04 BAC. They don't. I mean, that's a that's a waterless waterboarding. My friends call that. It's disgusting, and they don't even take in consideration of the calibration of the device used. 0.04, that's a whiff of perfume. And they want to destroy a soldier over that? Totally destroy him. Kick him out of the military. And more. Shame him. Anyway, that's another story. So another continuation of the story, right? A continuation of the continuous and severe retaliation that Richard received. For what? And now we know, because he went above and over and outside of the United States Army to make Child Protective Service complaints, because there were sex videos. He handed in sex videos. We also know that the person that wanted Leilani Hart, I can just say her name, Leilani Hart, wanted files, one being Richard's, to create one heck of a report. If you can fortify your report with resources from files of reports from the CID, if you can strengthen your claims with that, then your complaint is going to be more powerful, and it will make it to the desk of the FBI. And that's why this complaint, that not only did she fortify it with information coming from, and I don't even like to say leaked files. They're not even leaked files anymore, because she was given those files. She was readily given those files, which was illegal, to strengthen her complaint about her husband in a messy divorce. And Richard's file was used. And it got into the CID system, because she even had it notarized. And it was notarized on the 22nd of July, 2020, the day before Richard went missing. We were never told that. We had to figure that all out. We had to figure that all out by Team Find Richard Halliday, by whistleblowers, by concerned citizens that would notify us what is going on. It did not come from the military. So let's read on. The Sutherland Springs families are heroes. The country owes them a debt of gratitude. Jamal Al-Safar, I hope I say that right, the lead trial attorney for the plaintiffs, said they have gone through so much pain and loss in the most horrific way. Absolutely. And unnecessarily. Because the military, the Department of Defense, with their 44 four-star billets, don't want to do their duty. They work for foreign and domestic enemies. They are in this shadow relationship that has nothing to do with protecting, defending the Constitution, the land, and the people, and honoring their legal obligation to care for their service members. And to care for their service members would mean to follow the SOPs, would mean to make sure that their military installations are secure, that their barracks are secure, following the SOPs, and that if a soldier goes missing, now we have People First, which we have the absent soldier flow chart because of Vanessa Guillen, but before then, the time that Richard went missing, you still had that you reached the family, the next of kin, within 48 hours, I believe. And can you imagine? We would be so far ahead. So far ahead. We wouldn't have had to go through all of this if they would have absolutely contacted us. And in today's world, with Rob's number out there, with McGuffey's online tutor out there, with Richard's name on lessons of McGuffey's online tutor, all you had to do was Google or search for McGuffey's online tutor, Richard Halliday. It would have popped up. You could have contacted us in numerous ways. And if you didn't want to contact us, if the military didn't want to contact us through those kind of channels, they could have come to our home and let us know that our son was missing. We didn't even receive the 2-week letter until we were standing there doing a rally for our son. Find Richard Halliday. Find Richard Halliday. Find Richard Halliday. At that time, it was, I think, $11,000 reward. Now we have $150,000 reward. But it was there's $11,000 reward. I mean, I don't know how many times I said that. And that is when Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz came up to me and gave me the 2-week letter. Very, very late. Very, very late. What is this? 2 months later? 2 months later, to hand the mother of a missing soldier at a rally the 2-week letter? Not even in a meeting. Not even in the first meeting. That already had happened. It might have been 2.5 months later after Richard went missing. We get this 2-week letter. And he told me, I'm so embarrassed that I have to give it to you. I couldn't even face your husband. I can't face your husband. It's so embarrassing. And it is. It's embarrassing. The sloppiness of the military. And, if you are a service member right now, this is absolutely necessary for your safety, for the safety of your families, and also for the national defense. We have to call this out. This is not me being unpatriotic. This is not me being not supportive to the Department of Defense. Matter of fact, it's completely the opposite. It is showing so much support that I'm willing to risk my life, risk a lot of bullying, risk not getting answers that should readily come with the esprit de corps and with the Medal of Honor ethos that should be trained into every one of our service members. But we, so this is risking so much to come out and say the things that I say. And I invite people on to give their side of things. But this is so sloppy. Because we have Asia Graham, because we have Enrique Roman Martinez, because we have Elder Fernandez, because let's not forget Elder Fernandez. His mother told me they are training to suicide. So we're losing credibility because our children are being killed. Groomed into these sex cults. I mean, the colonel comes on showing his erection in uniform on our installations and our military buildings that are supposed to be secure, and he's showing his erection in uniform wearing his doggy mask, and he's not the only one. I have him here. Where is he? Yeah, right here. Look at him. This is two different people, right? They think this is cool. They think this is cool. This is a colonel grooming our children and being sloppy and being so bold. This is so normalized that he felt like this was okay. Okay enough to take a picture. Okay enough to not only wear the doggy mask in uniform, but to expose himself. And he retired, bragging about how many puppies he reared, how he enjoyed rearing puppies. Now, this is dereliction of duty. This is a national security threat. And I don't see where this investigation is being showed in the news. But we did get good news with this, and I need to stay focused. But it's part of it. It's part of it because Richard's missing. And our service members are not only dying, not only overdosing, not only being raped, not only being turned into fodder during exits from Afghanistan. And I can go down and down the list of all of the atrocities that are happening to our service members just because of dereliction and negligence of our leadership. And we have 44, we're totally bloated and totally supported in every way, and they can't get it right. And they need to be held accountable big time. 44 four-star generals and admirals. And I'm calling out, in this case, another General McConville and General Garrett, who is retired too, let to retire. And things like this happen. And thank you to Judge Rodriguez, Judge Javier Rodriguez, because let's read it. Dozens of victims sued the U.S. Air Force in 2018 after the branch said it did not report gunman Devin Kelly's history of violence, including a 2012 conviction for domestic assault, to the FBI's background check system. That conviction, which led to the gunman's dismissal from the Air Force, should have prevented the former airman from being able to buy the guns he used in the attack. In a July 2021 ruling, U.S. District Judge Javier Rodriguez found the Air Force was 60% liable for the attack. He cited the background check failures and other disturbing details uncovered at the trial, including that the Air Force officials were aware that the gunman had previously researched and threatened a mass shooting and had a history of severe mental health issues that led officials to declare him to be dangerous and a threat. Information they did not share with others. And the problem here is that the system has failed. That's the problem. The system has failed. The institution has failed. And thank you, Judge Javier Rodriguez, for having the courage to say it. Absolutely. The trial conclusively established that no other individual, not even Kelly's own parents or partners, knew as much as the United States about the violence that Devin Kelly had threatened to commit and was capable of committing. That statement there makes me very emotional because you have to understand that we did not know that Richard had put in Child Protective Service complaints, that he had turned in sex videos, that Richard's file was leaked, that Richard, going above and beyond and outside of the military, after he tried to, inside his chain of command, to complain about the child abuse, had to go outside and triggered the IG then all over the barracks. Absolutely, that's what triggered it. And the CID, the FBI, they absolutely, because we have the CID and the FBI file numbers of Leilani Hart. The purpose of the leaked files, including Richard's file, was to fortify and to make such a wow complaint, to use other people's complaints. So was Richard's, this is the thing, was Richard's complaint about child abuse involving First Lieutenant Hart, Leilani Hart, anybody in the Hart family? Because did it involve James Hart? Because why would she want to use Richard's file information in her complaint? And there was an 8-year-old child that was sexually assaulted that was in that file. That's what we have been told. Now, that's been notarized. That file, the CID complaint, that was notarized on the 22nd of July, 2020. Now, if somebody wanted to get even with Richard for reporting and then it exploding into this kind of complaint, and the military did not do anything to secure those files, they had, Tavita Nusa lost his badge. They had a leaker in the CID. Not only that, and it wasn't even a leaker. He betrayed the CID. He betrayed the United States. He betrayed the national security. He betrayed every service member by giving freely these special files that would help Leilani's case against her husband. And that put every soldier, every service member that was in those files that he gave her in danger, including Richard. And they didn't even tell us. They didn't even contact us. We've had to figure, we're coming up to 1,000 days and we've had to figure this out. And leak, drip, 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 or people's research, finding out what happened. And the big one is the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado, the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, saying you can take down the flyers. Richard has been found. And we have leaks from yesterday, or information from yesterday, information given to us yesterday, that they knew. And Our big question today is, and I hope you can see it. I don't know if you can, if the light's too bright. But it says, is the FBI hiding the remains of our son? Because Lieutenant Colonel Bugato's father-in-law says so. And Lieutenant Colonel Bugato is in Richard's G3 32nd ADCOM, his command. And that commander was Major General Clem Coward, who signed off on the permanent GOMAR to destroy Richard's life, as far as his whole career in the military, to start chaptering him out for what? Underage drinking. Richard had one counseling slip for underage drinking for 0.04 BAC, allowable amount 0.00. You have to read it. It is, it makes you cry. It makes you cry because you absolutely know that that is not why a major general, a 2-star general, would give a soldier, Richard's age, 20 years old, a permanent GOMAR to start chaptering him out of the military to destroy his entire career when he was Distinguished Honor Graduate from basic training and AIT, and was so quickly promoted with waivers, guidon bearer for his unit. So what part in all of this more, what investment did Major Clem Coward, what was threatened? What investment was threatened of Major General Clem Coward that he had to do that to Richard? That is, and especially because they know more, y'all. They know more. September seems to be a big month. So they know more, and they collude with the media. They collude with the FBI. So the judge later ordered the federal government to pay more than $230 million in damages to roughly 80 victims and relatives of those killed. But the Justice Department appealed that ruling, a move that has left survivors struggling to pay expenses, ongoing medical bills related to their grievous injuries, and ongoing trauma. In its appeal, the Justice Department described the Sutherland Springs attack as an inexpressible tragedy, but argued it could not be more responsible than the gunman. At trial, government attorneys argued that the gunman, who died by suicide after the attack, would have obtained weapons even if his information had been properly reported to the background check system. A position that clashed with the Biden administration's strong support of background checks and tightened restrictions on access to weapons. Yeah, so this has been a big battle, and they ended up with, last fall, more than a dozen prominent gun control advocacy groups urged the Justice Department to drop its appeal in the case. They warned that the continued legal battle would undermine the integrity of existing gun laws. Okay, so this is they're weighing everything's about politics, y'all. Politics and sex. Because I do have to mention this. There has been an El Paso police report, we've been told, informed that claimed that Leilani Hart was in charge, had charge of the CID El Paso, I shouldn't say El Paso, Fort Bliss CID office because of her sexual relationship with Tavita Nusa. Now, she was bragging and boasting about that. I don't know if it's true. Why would someone make an El Paso police report and CID report stating that? So I've asked her to come on. She needs to give her position. She can write me her position, and I'll just put it on there. But yeah. So tomorrow, this is the breaking news. Tomorrow, we've decided to file a claim against the Army. This has, really, I can see the struggle in the Department of Justice. But their wickedness, their failure to establish justice is catching up with them because they turned us down. My husband put in a request for them to oversee this investigation to make sure that the FBI was doing the right thing in this investigation. They turned us down. Why? Is the FBI now? We have to really ask. Is the FBI hiding the remains of our son? Is the DOD? Is the Department of Defense? Are there generals that are hiding the remains of our son from us? Because they didn't want a Vanessa Guillen situation. And that was the other league. Lieutenant General Bernabe put politics in front of his duty to care for the health and welfare of his service members. And that's a trust issue. And do I believe it? Do I believe these things that I am getting told and reports and El Paso police reports and do I believe it? Well, I sat into meetings and it was very clear that he was putting politics over and above the health and welfare of Richard Halliday. Very clear to me. Insulting. Even in an insulting way. With a lot of charm. Because he's been to charm school. You know, these generals and admirals, they go to charm school. So, people don't realize that the devil is beautiful. Beautiful angel, right? The devil, Satan, the fallen Lucifer, fallen angel, beautiful. The angel of light, right? The angel of, the morning star. Beautiful angel. And don't be fooled. Don't be fooled with Vanity Fair. The glitz and the glitter. The facelifts and the fancy suits. What gets me when I watch these big glittery gatherings are the centerpieces. I'm looking at the centerpiece. A beautiful table always appeals to me. I love bone china, that beautiful bone china, especially when it's been handed down for generations. You've got this beautiful place setting, and then you have a beautiful centerpiece with beautiful flowers. Oh, people are so talented when it comes to flowers, and they fade. these flowers fade, but that's what makes them so precious, because you want to get them right at their most beautiful time. And nothing compares. Nothing compares. No facelift, no fancy suit compares with the centerpiece of well done, beautiful flower arrangement. Um, to me, to me anyway. So, because I've been to these events too, and a lot of times they're like award ceremonies, um, and you buy these fancy dresses, and they don't give you much time to dance and mingle, you know. Um, I guess that's beside the point. I don't know why I have that on. Shouldn't have had that on. So that's really the big news. Let me make sure I did write a few things down. Oh yeah. Why do we, we were discussing this, Rob and I. Why would we want to make a claim, okay, against the army? Well, it's because we can't get any official answers. We can only get very few, and the couple that we have gotten have been, let's just say, twisted and vague. And for example, do I have an example here? Um, do I have an example of what I'm talking about when it comes to? Oh, I don't think I do. I think I got rid of it. It was my map. Yeah, I got rid of it. But what I wanted to say is, uh, in May of 2022, I gave the authorities the traces, these 4 teams of locations that we traced from the vile and vulgar messages that we suffered through. That is also negligence and dereliction and not necessary, um, from February to May. And they started in February, right after we were given information that another report was put into the CID, to the FBI, that to be special agent in the CID of Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, was leaking files, or not leaking files, but uh, giving giving access to these files to Leilani Hart. Um, and that was big, because it put the whole Hart family, who have a history. This is another thing that goes to this whole Sutherland Springs case. Uh, this Air Force airman had a history of violence. Well, the Hart family have a history also of violence. Abuse is violence. Child pornography is violence. Sexual assault on an 8-year-old is violence. And this goes back to the 1990s. Were those all entered in? And what happened to Richard? And where is Richard? And with all this information, and it's a sloppy case, it's a botched investigation. And from the CID standpoint, it might be botched because I don't know why, But they essentially made us the investigators of our sons, and it could be a murder case. Our own son's murder case? We've had to investigate? Now, if that is not like this, where they're withholding information and not doing their duty, and, if it wasn't for that, the SOPs being followed in the barracks, the security of Fort Bliss being followed, the security of the barracks being followed, the SOPs of disappearances of soldiers, if they had been followed, Richard may be alive. I think he would be alive. And so it's absolutely, absolutely a claim that needs to be made. And tomorrow we will file a claim against the Army. And what that would do, because there is this dark shadow of information, this dark web, I guess, I call it a dark snake pit, a dark snake pit of information that needs to be shared with us to help us find our son. What this might do, hopefully we'll get this judge, right? Judge Javier Rodriguez, hopefully we will get him, because we could get discovery. And I wrote that legal word down, because a judge could give an injunction and we could get discovery. And that would mean that we could get the Child Protective Service complaint. We could get to the bottom of this. We could get those phone, all that phone information through this. So today's a good day, very good day, and better than yesterday. Yesterday was so emotional because you get information that like what the father-in-law said. Shh, they found him. He's dead. They found him. He's dead. Shh, shh. Why is that a secret? Why is that a secret, that when you find a missing soldier, his bodies, his remains, they don't want another Vanessa Guillen? Does that mean that he was chopped up? They don't want another Vanessa Guillen, so does that mean he was sexually abused, that he was chopped up, that he was bludgeoned to death, that he was burnt and put in some hole or whatever? And then the first sergeant eerily, I'll never forget that. It was so eerie for him to say, and I assure you, this is not that. Meaning, Richard's case is not Vanessa Guillen's case. And every day it looks like it is. Every day it looks closer and closer like it is a Vanessa Guillen case. So what does that first sergeant know, really? Well, this may give us a way to have discovery and get an inspection on the investigation, a new investigation of this botched investigation, a true team, it's when you look into the Walmart case, they have this whole team working together for this Walmart case, right? And it's so clear. They have videos. He's admitted that he's killed people. They have everything, right? And yet, for Richard, they do nothing. They do nothing for Richard's case. They don't spend a dime. And I'm talking about the AUSA. I'm talking about Jaime Esparza's group. I'm talking about Bill Hicks. I'm talking about Gregory McDonald. I'm talking about, um, well, Jamie, is his name Jamie? Downey. Anyway, I might get the first name wrong, but his last name is Downey. He's in charge of the FBI. Why don't I know them so well, like the back of my hand? Because they are living in the shadow when it comes to find Richard Halliday. So pray for that. This judge, Javier Rodriguez, sent him a kind letter for what he just did because he just might have opened the door for us to get answers. Oh, there's my daddy. Mom posted up my daddy's picture. Rest in peace, Dad. Okay, so let's see if I have any questions. Marilyn, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you for your prayers. Our soldiers should be safe in their barracks. I pray the truth comes out. Yeah. When you're at war, you might have to sleep with one eye open, but when you're in the barracks on your own installation in your own country, I don't think you should have to sleep with one eye open. You know? Yeah. So every day I was telling a friend today that was telling me 20 letters a day I'm going to send, and I went and got all these patriotic stickers and I'm putting it on there, and then I'm using my Sharpie fine liner to say open this envelope to Inspector General Michael Horowitz. And I was I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I lost my train of thought, y'all. Oh yeah. I told her, I said, it was never our intention to get to this point. Never. It's not our intention now. And what has happened is there has been not one day that has gone by that doesn't push us forward to the next day in this investigation, in this search for our son. Something always happens every day. And, and it's all unnecessary because we don't have the big staff. We don't have the millions of dollars. We don't have the support from the media and Department of Justice. You have to understand the media, what role they play in this. They're squarely on the Department of Defense's side. Squarely. So much so, I think they work in the dark web too, the dark snake pit. It's interesting what we're learning, and it just propels you forward and forward, because we are getting closer to. Because you see, if we could just get our FOIAs answered for the IG and the Child Protective Services, that would be like bombshell. It would give us so much information. And it might make me eat crow. And I've said from the very beginning, I hope I eat crow, because I hope to God, I hope and pray every day that our Department of Defense is not as bad as it's looking to us right now. I really hope and pray that. So, so this will help us get that information, and the phone information would be also bombshell. And then some articles. There's some articles that we're looking for that don't seem to be accessible to everybody. And they need to be made accessible. Okay, everyone. And also to weaponize the very people that we support to for whoever's leading this. Because who is directing this? It's kind of like that question yesterday to Veronica Escobar. Who directed her to make Castner Range a national monument? Because there's problems with that, y'all. It sounds pretty. Like I told you, things sound pretty. They can be glitzy. They can go to charm school. But there's problems with that. There's a lot of caves there. There's a lot of other things there. So we have some things that need to happen, and I think that this is an open door to let that happen. So say some prayers, and we're propelled forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll be on, God willing, and this is Holy Week. So enjoy, and God bless you. Thank you for Rob Boy says, don't forget to tell them we love them. We love them. So thank you, and we love you. Bye bye.